Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishta Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtapayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. I don't remember, Mataji's, what I put on the schedule.
So today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 2nd chapter, 24 to 27.
Wow, very good. Any Matajis can read.
Why is there an echo?
I think that somebody is speaking on the phone to somebody else. Ruchi Mataji is in the background, I believe. I don't want to say for sure, but I think, she just muted. Okay, I think we're fine now, Mataji.
Okay. Okay, so I can start. I'll read 24 and other devotees can continue.
Sure.
Vidya buddhir avidyaya yam karma amayam aso jada samsarvantva ihaye chamum anusarva vamanninam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Those who have become as dull as matters by cultivating materialistic education and intelligence are nascently involved in fruitive activities. Such men have purposely insulted Lord Shiva. May they continue in the cycle of repeated birth and death. Purport: the three curses mentioned above are sufficient to make one as dull as stone, void of spiritual knowledge, and preoccupied with materialistic education, which is mere science. After uttering these curses, Nandishvara then cursed the Brahmanas to continue in the cycle of birth and death because of their supporting Daksha in blaspheming Lord Shiva. Yeah, this was a short purport. That's it.
Would someone care to read text 25? I guess I will have to read it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Gira Shrutaya Pushpinya Madhu Gandena Burina Matna Konhatilat Manaha Samuhayantu Harad Divishaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. May those who are envious of Lord Shiva, being attracted by the flowery language of the enchanting Vedic promises, and who have thus become dull, always remain attached to fruits of activity. Purport. The Vedic promises of elevation to higher planets for a better standard of materialistic life are compared to flowery language, because in a flower there is certainly an aroma, but that aroma does not last for a very long time. In a flower there is honey, but that honey is not eternal. Can someone volunteer to read text 26?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Yay! Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Ashanti Mataji, Ashanti, would you like to read?
26, yes, Mataji.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sarvabhaksha dvija trityai drita vidyata pobrata vitta dehindriyarama yachaka vicharan vitviha. I don't have a book, Mataji, and its screen is not moving on mine. Oh, okay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. These Brahmanas take to education, austerity, and vows only for the purpose of maintaining the body. They shall be devoid of discrimination between what to eat and what not to eat. They will acquire money begging from door to door simply for the satisfaction of the body. Purport. The third curse inflicted by Nanda Dweswara on the Brahmanas who supported Daksha is completely functioning in the age of Kali. The so-called Brahmanas are no longer interested in understanding the nature of the Supreme Brahman. Although a Brahmana means one who has attained knowledge about Brahman. In the Vedanta Sutra also it is stated, Athato Brahman na Jigyasa. This human form of life is meant for realization of the Supreme Brahman, the absolute truth, or in other words, human life is meant for one's elevation to the post of a Brahmana. Ultimately, the modern Brahmanas or so-called Brahmana who come in original Brahminical families have left their own occupational duties, but they do not allow others to occupy the post of Brahmanas. The qualification for Brahmanas are described in the scriptures in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and all other Vedic literature. Brahmana is not a hereditary title or position. If someone from a non-Brahman family, for example, one born in a family of Sudra, try to become a Brahmana by being properly qualified under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, these so-called Brahmana will object such Such Brahmana having been cursed by Nandishwara are actually in the position where they have no discrimination between eatables and non-edibles, and simply, what is that? Simply, because it has some, that arrow, simply live to maintain the perishable material body and its family. Such fallen conditions soul are not worthy to be called Brahmanas, but in Kali Yuga they claim to be Brahmanas, and if a person actually try to attain the Brahminical qualification, they try to hinder his progress. This is the situation in present age. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu condemned this principle very strongly. During his conversation with Ramananda Rai, he said that regardless of whether a person is born in a Brahmana family or Sudra family, regardless or whatever he is a householder or a sannyasi, if he knows the signs of Krishna, he must be a spiritual master. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had many so-called Sudra disciples like Haridas Thakur and Ramananda Rai. Even the Goswamis, who were principal students of Lord Chaitanya, were also ostracized from Brahmana society, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his grace, made them first-class Vaishnava. Hare Krishna.
Manasi Ganga Mataji, are you in a position where you can read?
Yeah, I just got here, so I can read.
Okay.
So this is 27. Taisyaivam padatta sapan srutva dvija kulayava brigur pratyasrijakchapam pramadanda duratyayam. Translation. When all the hereditary Brahmanas were thus cursed by Nandishvara, the sage Bhrigu, as a reaction, condemned the followers of Lord Shiva with this very strong Brahminical curse. Purport. The word Duratyaya is particularly used in reference to Brahmadanda, or curse by Brahmana. A curse by Brahmana is very strong, therefore it is called Duratyaya, or insurmountable. As the Lord states in Bhagavad Gita, the stringent laws of nature are insurmountable. Similarly, if a curse is uttered by Brahmana, that curse is also insurmountable. But Bhagavad Gita also says that the curses or benedictions of the material world are, after all, material creations. The Chaitanya Charitamrita confirms that which is accepted in this material world to be a benediction and that which is taken to be a curse are both on the same platform because they are material. To get out of this material contamination, one should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita 7:14. Mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. The best path is to transcend all material curses and benedictions and take shelter of the Supreme Lord Krishna and remain in a transcendental position. Persons who have taken shelter of Krishna are always peaceful. They are never cursed by anyone, nor do they attempt to curse anyone. That is a transcendental position. Hare Krishna. Is that the last verse?
Yes.
Yes, it's the last verse for today. I don't know if I missed a class, but I'm not, I might have, yes, because I missed the part where it says what the 3 curses were. Now I'm reading back that the first curse, this was in text 21, says the first curse by Nandishvara was that anyone supporting Daksha was foolishly identifying himself with the body, and therefore, because Daksha had no transcendental knowledge, supporting him would deprive one of transcendental knowledge. But I'm not sure what the curse, therefore, Nandishvara's curse was that anyone who supported Daksha would be bereft of transcendental knowledge of the soul and thus also be deprived of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, that's a pretty big curse.
Which one is it, Mataji? Is it
That was in text 21. I was just looking back because I know that Daksha did not speak nicely to Lord Shiva, but it wasn't clear to me at first exactly what the curses were.
Yep.
So that's the first one, but what was the second one? Does anybody know?
We can go back and read them.
I'm looking right now. Let's
It's
see.
22.
I think in 20, it's saying, the entire issue was so complicated that those who were not strong enough forgot their positions, and thus cursing and counter cursing went on in that great assembly. In other words, the material field is so unsteady that even personalities like Nandishvara, Daksha, and many of the Brahmanas present were infected by the atmosphere of anger. Okay. It's not clear to me what they were exactly. Just that
No, they
maybe
are like these following this verse in text 21. I think that's the first curse, because Prabhupada says there in the purport, the first curse by Nandishwara was that anyone supporting Daksha was foolish
right.
in identifying himself with the body, and therefore, because Daksha had no transcendental knowledge, supporting him would deprive one of transcendental knowledge. Then in text
Okay. Well,
22 and 23, also he curses pretentiously religious householder life in which one is attracted to material happiness and thus attracted to the superficial explanation of the Vedas, robs one of all intelligence and attaches one to fruitive activities as all in all. But it doesn't sound so much like a curse, but
right.
it's more like an explanation. In text 23, it
Oh,
says, Daksha has accepted the body as all in all. Therefore, since he has forgotten the Vishnupada or Vishnu Gati and is attached to sex life only, within a short time he will have the face of a goat. So this is the second.
that's the second one?
Yeah, he will have the face of a goat.
Okay. And
I
then,
guess third one is this one. Those who have become as dull as matter by cultivating materialistic education and intelligence and are silently involved in fruitive activities, such men have purposely insulted Lord Shiva. May they continue in the cycle of birth
yes.
and death. So this is the third curse. Those continue in the
Okay.
cycle of birth and death.
Okay. So that's what's going on here in text 24. So those cultivating materialistic education and intelligence, do we say nesciently or nesciently? I don't know what that, how to pronounce that word. I've never used it in my life until I came to the Vedas. Are nesciently or nesciently involved in fruitive activities.
I think it's nesciently. Nesciently.
Okay. And so that third curse is that those who were insulting, they purposely insulted Lord Shiva, these people who were on the side of Daksha and who were cultivating materialistic education and intelligence. And so they are nesciently involved in fruitive activities. And so their curses, they will continue in the cycle of repeated birth and death. Okay. So we going back and seeing those three curses, Prabhupada says those three curses are sufficient to make one as dull as stone, void of spiritual knowledge and preoccupied with materialistic education, which is nescience. Okay. Oh, yes, because at this particular gathering, there was a whole assembly of Brahmanas there. And Nandishvara cursed the Brahmanas so that they would continue in that circle of birth and death because they supported Daksha in blaspheming Lord Shiva. So that's 24. Those were envious of Lord Shiva, being attracted by the flowery language. Then Prabhupada, I like this purport. The people who are envious, and in this case, those envious of Lord Shiva, being attracted by the flowery language of the enchanting Vedic promises, and who have thus become dull, always remain attached to fruitive activities. So Prabhupada in the purport compares the Vedic promises of elevation to higher planets for a better standard of materialistic life. Those promises are compared to flowery language because in a flower there is certainly an aroma. But that aroma does not last for a very long time. And again, in a flower there's honey, but that honey is not eternal. So once again, and we've talked about this so many times that, going to the higher planets just to continue enjoying fruitive activities, it might last for quite some time, but you still have to go through those four, birth, death, disease, and old age. It's not eternal in the heavenly planets or the higher planets. So the goal is not to, become more learned on a material level. Rather, it's to, achieve love of God. That is the way we get to those highest levels. And the spiritual world, rather, not just to the higher planets, because the higher planets will not give us eternity. And we're going to have to die again eventually. It may be a long, long time, but we still have to die. Okay. And here Prabhupada is in the translation of 26, we learned that the Brahmanas become very educated. They practice many austerities and vows, but it's all for maintaining the body. It's not for attaining love of God. To fall madly in love with God. No, they shall be devoid of discrimination between what to eat and what not to eat. They will acquire money begging from door to door simply for the satisfaction of the body. So they're sounds to me that they're not qualified. It says here in the third curse, inflicted by Nandishvara. It's functioning in the age of Kali, of course. Wow. So from this particular curse, all that long ago, that curse is still functioning in this age. So, because we have been told so many times that the Brahmanas are no longer qualified. Nobody's qualified in Kali Yuga. It says, are no longer interested in understanding the nature of the Supreme Brahman. Although a Brahmana means one who has attained knowledge about Brahman. It says that modern Brahmanas, unfortunately, or they are so-called Brahmanas, they come in from Brahminical families, many of them. They've left their occupational duties, but they don't allow others to occupy the posts of Brahmanas. And we've learned this from Srila Prabhupada, that a Brahmana is not a hereditary title or position. We see that, and Prabhupada mentions it towards the end, that Lord Chaitanya had many so-called Shudra disciples, okay, and he brought them up to the highest standard in Brahminical life, and they all became first class Vaishnavas, and so it is, once again, we know that it doesn't matter if we were born into a Brahmana family or not. It's by qualities, the qualities that one develops in practicing spiritual life, that will give that person the position of Brahman. And now I'm understanding that such Brahmanas, having been cursed by Nandishvara, are actually in a position where they have no discrimination between eatables and non-eatables, and simply live to maintain the perishable material body and its family. So many are claiming to be Brahmanas in this age of Kali, and they are actually fallen, conditioned souls. And many of them, I'm not saying there aren't any, but, well, I don't know. Leela Mandri knows better than I. And then if you try to if there's a person who actually tries to attain these Brahminical qualifications, somebody tries to hinder their progress. Okay, so yeah, this is the present age. And so this is where Chaitanya, in Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya said, whether a person's born in a Brahmana family or Shudra family, doesn't matter whether he's a householder or a sannyasi, if he knows the science of Krishna, he must be a spiritual master. And Haridas Thakur was a Shudra, Ramananda Raya. And I don't think that Narottam Das was a Shudra. He was born in a very high-class family, but he was not. But I just fell in love with him. He just left all of that opulence that his father wanted to pass down to him, and just to serve Lord Chaitanya in Vrindavan, and serve his spiritual master Lokanath Goswami. So yeah, that's what that text is saying. Would someone like to do text 27?
Sure, Mataji. When all the hereditary Brahmanas were thus cursed by Nandishvara, the sage Bhrigu, as a reaction, condemned the followers of Lord Shiva with this very strong Brahmanical curse. The word Duratyaya is particularly used to in reference to Brahma Danda. Actually, um, there is a story in the Krishna book how the Yadu dynasty was annihilated. So, what had happened was Samba, who was the grandson of, I believe he was the grandson. He was not his son, but his son's son. So, who was this grandson of Krishna? Um, he was playing with his friends, and there were some brahmanas. So he dressed up as a woman, and he kept a iron ball near his stomach, and he pretended to be pregnant. And so he went to the brahmanas and he said, like, oh, brahmanas, can you tell who is going to be born of this woman, like something along those lines. Basically, he was joking with the brahmana. And then the brahmanas cursed Ramba, and they said, like, your lineage will be destroyed by the very reason that's in your belly. So actually, after this curse, the entire Yadu dynasty was destroyed because um, it's a long story. I don't recollect all the details, but basically, there was a iron ball which was swallowed by a fish, and then somebody made um, arrows from it, something along those lines. And then finally, like, that same um, the Yadu dynasty, once they got drunk, um, they started attacking each other, and they killed each other. So um, so actually, the essence of all of that um, story was basically that one should not take the brahmanas lightly, and one should not, like, um, um, one should be very careful when they're dealing with the brahmanas. So one should not steal a brahmana's property, one should not um, um, joke with the brahmanas, one should not insult the brahmanas. That was the essence of it. So in this context also, like, the word duratyaya is used, because if a brahmana curses some, brahmanas would usually not um, curse somebody, but if their behavior is very improper, then they may curse someone. And such curse is not usually forgiven. Yeah, we see in the case of Parikshit Maharaj, he was cursed by a Brahmana. And because he very much respected the Brahmanas, he did not try to retract that curse. Although he could have, because he was a Vaishnava and he could have prayed to the Supreme Lord to remove the curse, but he didn't. So similarly, even the Supreme Lord, he honors the curses of the Brahmanas. So it's very important that we do not, in our case, how it translates is, we should not offend Vaishnavas, because if the Vaishnava feels offended, and they may not curse us, but because of their connection with Krishna, if they feel hurt, then the Lord um, may withdraw his mercy. So we should never offend a Vaishnava. And but Prabhupada, actually, he concludes this paragraph, this verse, very nicely. He says, that actually it doesn't matter what type of curses or benedictions one may receive in this material world. They are irrelevant for a Vaishnava, because whatever curses or benedictions we receive are after all material. So they will have only a certain impact on our journey as a soul. So, and to get out of this material contamination, just as Parikshit Maharaj did, one must take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So although Parikshit Maharaj was cursed because he took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that curse turned into a benediction. He actually went back to Godhead at the end of the 7 days. Although he took the curse, but at the same time, the opportunity was turned into a benediction and he went back to Godhead. So he writes, the best path is to transcend all material curses and benedictions and take shelter of the Supreme Lord Krishna and remain in a transcendental position. So this is our Vaishnava teaching. We want to go beyond the temporary, and it's not easy, but it is possible. That's why Srila Prabhupada is again and again urging us to take that path, because as we heard previously, even the Brahmanas who are supposed to be situated in the knowledge of Brahman, who are supposed to think beyond this body, unfortunately, in this age of Kali, they also are on a bodily platform. They are unable to raise themselves beyond the bodily platform. So, as Vaishnavas also in our neophyte stage, we may be very much beyond a bodily platform, but through proper chanting of the holy name, through reading Prabhupada's books, through proper association, it is attainable to go beyond thinking just about this body and to situate ourselves in thinking of Krishna and rendering service to Krishna. And only because this is possible, Srila Prabhupada is urging us to take that path, because that path is transcendental and eternal. Any other path that we take, which is pertaining to the body and the happiness that is related to this body, has to come to an end. So, so it, as Prabhupada described, the flowery language of the Vedas. So, I just looked it up. The dictionary meaning of flowery is something that resembles a flower, the smelling of a flower. So they a flowery language actually means that, it may sound very nice, very literary, very beautiful, but it doesn't have much substance. So anything of this world, no matter how great it looks or how beautiful it looks or how great it feels, it has to come to an end. It's temporary. And that's why Prabhupada is urging us again and again to take shelter of the eternal, which is Krishna and our own spiritual nature. Yeah, thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Leela Manjari Mataji, for a very nice explanation also. And it's kind of funny. I went to a healer a couple of years ago, maybe. I don't remember exactly when it was. And she was sensing that there was a curse on my mother's side of my family. And, that there were certain reasons why, I had physical problems, etc. And I'm just wondering, so can curses, I don't know exactly what the curse was that was given, and when, how many generations back it went. But I thought that curses cannot be if they can't be undone, can they be alleviated? It seems that they can still be either alleviated or turned, like you said, into a blessing or benediction in disguise through
Guru
chanting,
Dev's, I'm sorry, go on.
through taking to Krishna consciousness. Just a kind of a question there. That so that curse was there, I don't know for how many generations. Can it be taken away through the practice of Krishna consciousness? Although curses cannot be undone. I don't know.
Well, Guru Dev did speak to this slightly. He did say that someone who gives a curse, he gave a story to it, but I can't remember the story. The person who gives the curse, if they realize that it's a mistake, can change it, lighten it up. Do you remember that
Right.
probably about 3 weeks ago or something, he gave a
Right.
class
I'm remembering.
and he mentioned,
Mhm.
but yeah, so it can be lightened, but otherwise he said it stays if it isn't lightened up by that person who speaks it. That was his take on curses. Yeah.
See,
But
the
I really
people,
like,
the persons who gave that curse, suppose they're not alive anymore. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if that can be turned into a benediction through practicing Krishna consciousness.
he didn't say anything to that.
Yeah, he didn't say that, but I thank you for bringing that up, Manasi Ganga Mataji. Leela Manjari Mataji, did you have any further knowledge about curses?
I do not know, Mataji, but it seems that, when somebody is on the material platform, just as, if somebody was on the material platform and he was cursed to die, just like Parikshit Maharaj, then if he was not a devotee of the Lord, his reaction to the whole situation would have been very different, and the outcome also would have been very different. But once a devotee takes shelter of Krishna, he does not undergo the same kind of misery. Even
Right.
though the situation is the same, um, you know, like Parikshit Maharaj, he completely turned the whole thing into a very transcendental experience by listening to Sukadev Goswami. Not only did he elevate himself to a very, very high spiritual consciousness, so in that sense, he transcended the curse, because although his body perished, he went way beyond any material impediment. So
So it can be done. It can be done with the Lord, with the help of Krishna.
yeah, I mean, the curse is still in place, because Parikshit Maharaj, the snake bird, came and bit him. So, but what happened between when the curse was uttered and when the events actually took place was such a potent spiritual experience that he didn't feel any fears in his heart when he departed.
Mhm. Well, that's very hopeful. Very good to know this, because there are curses in place. I never believed so much in curses, and since I came to Krishna consciousness, I see that this has been going on for repeatedly. No, I mean, in every age, this cursing, and even among very advanced souls at times. Yeah. So it can be given, and then, well, it seems that some
Yep.
curses have been alleviated, Maybe not, right, alleviated. Although the curse does not go away, it can be alleviated with Krishna consciousness and sometimes turned into something different. As what I'm understanding.
Yes, but Prabhupada does say in the purport, like, that this type of cursing is on the material platform.
Mhm.
So both are like, even benedictions, material benedictions or curses, both are on the material platform. So just because advanced souls are cursing each other, it doesn't make it any transcendental. When they're doing something like that, it's still on the material platform. And higher than that would be if a devotee can actually take shelter of Krishna and he doesn't get involved in this cursing and counter cursing. That's a high platform, but that's the best.
Very good. Okay. Yeah, and this is something I have to really see as we go along and we learn more and more, or I learn more and more about these different pastimes and stories and lives of these people, in lives of these great sages, and it will become clearer to me how these curses are sometimes either, I don't know if you can say reversed. In some instances, they were taken away, some curses, but only with the Lord's help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
I think reduced in potency, maybe.
Mhm.
I don't know, like we said, like Guru said, that they remain in place, and Leela Manjari said they remain in place, but the turn of events, like somehow there's like a buffer that protects. Even within Christianity, there's, you just pray to your guardian angel to protect you from, the evil, yeah, and even the evil eye. There's all kinds of protections in other religions as well, and within this religion, through one's devotional service, um, one can, uh, I guess, reduce the effects of a curse. But I just wanted to also just talk about. I'm reading the life of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, and one of Narottam Das Thakur's disciples. There were two brothers, and they were sons of a very high esteemed Brahmana, and the two boys' names were Ramakrishna and Hariram, and they were on the way to taking cows to the slaughterhouse to be offered for to Durga, and Narottam Das and I think, I can't remember who he was walking along with, but the two of them saw and knew, because there's this herd of cows and these boys were going in the direction of the slaughterhouse. So they began talking loudly, and they were saying, oh, when one slaughters, if there's, in this day and age, if there's any slight imperfection in the way it's done, the person who takes and offers these slaughtered cows will feel the effect. And anyway, so he kept on talking. The two of them, Narottam Das and his friend, were talking loudly, so these two young Brahmana boys would overhear. And so they continued on, and because of the potency, the spiritual potency of Narottam Das, and I can't remember who the other one was so strong, these two Brahmana boys, they were hearing, and they became very attached to Narottam Das. and ended up, not taking the cows for slaughter, and they ended up following Narottam Das to the ashram and were trained up for a couple of weeks. And then Narottam Das says, I want you to go back to your father's home and just present yourself. And of course, they were all shaven up and they had tilak and all this going on. And the Brahmana father, who was like extremely from the highest caste, etc., when he saw his two boys, he was, and his name was Ganga Narayan. He was very upset, and he tried to talk his boys out of being, Vaishnavas or followers of Lord Chaitanya, and he could not persuade his boys to change their minds. And then he got all his Brahmana friends, and they were the Panditas, and they were trying to talk, or to find errors in the boys' logic. And the two Brahmana boys who were disciples of Narottam Das, they couldn't be changed. And this is what some of the things that they were saying. He said the only reason to perform. So they were, I guess, attacking what the Brahmanas were explaining. And he's one of the boys, Harirama, said, you Panditas like to talk of Dharma and rules and regulations, but you seem to lose sight of the real purpose of Dharma. The only reason to perform any religious activity is to become connected to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through his loving service. Pleasing him is the goal, and it's not possible to please him by becoming a perfect Brahmana, acquiring knowledge, or observing etiquette perfectly. None of this gives the Lord pleasure, nor does distributing charity, performing austerities or sacrifice, being clean, or following strict vows. The Lord is pleased only when one has unflinching, unalloyed devotion to him. Everything else is simply for show. If your activities do not bring you to the point of loving God, they are a useless waste of time. The Lord wants only your love. When you love him, your life will be filled with bliss. It's as simple as that. And so this one of the Brahmanas, who was like another really high Brahmana, came across these two boys walking down the road, and they're having this conversation, and this is what the two boys are responding to him. And these boys were so spiritually strong that they had the effect of changing some of these Brahmanas and making them understand that, it's not in the rules and regulations. It's not in just, it's not just following, rituals and etc., but rather it's in loving the Lord. And so I guess that makes the distinction like between, in my mind, it helped me understand the distinction between a Brahmana and a Vaishnava. Just that, the focus is quite different. Where a Vaishnava wants to only please the Lord, where Brahmana, although he might be very religious and be following things to the T, but the focus is off. Sometimes. I don't know if it's always off, but in this case, the way that this is being presented in the life of Narottam Das, the distinction was made. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with
Very, very,
regards to.
very cute, Mataji, the way they spoke in such a way that the boys could hear them.
Yeah. yeah. And the story about Narottam Das and all the people he touches by his love for Lord Chaitanya is just amazing, and how that, like, his potency is just like spreading, to all the people that he comes in contact with. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, that book, thank you very much, Manasi Ganga Mataji, for talking about that, because I have, I just got through reading the book and my memory's going, because, once you start talking about it, I can recite the stories, but prior to that,
Yeah.
it's like it goes right out of my head. And that is the most phenomenal book I have ever read.
It is. It really is. It's beautiful.
And
And I don't know if it's just the book or if it's just, I think that anything about Narottam Das probably is just beautiful. I don't know, he just, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda so many times appeared to him in dreams, and appeared to him right in front, like all these stories of Lord Chaitanya, and all his associates appearing at that,
in the kirtan.
In the kirtan when they're doing the deity installation. But time and time and time again, Lord Chaitanya and his associates appear to Narottam Das, and he kept on. Remember, he was kind of stuck in his family's home. He was young and wanted to go and find Lord Chaitanya, and his parents were keeping him guarded. And so he finally sneaks out one night. But in that whole first couple years, every time he reaches the place where Lord Chaitanya or any of his associates were supposed to be, Lord or Sri Rupa Goswami and etc., they've already either left that area or had passed on, and just his love just was deepened. It's very similar to Srimati Radharani's sense of separation from Lord Krishna. I think they made mention in here that it was just very similar that he just he just was feeling this separation. But the story is just beautiful, and I recommend it as Govardhan Leela, I'm sure, is recommending it as well. Anybody who's interested in Lord Chaitanya and his associates, to read The Glorious Life of Srila Narottam Das Thakur by Sitala Dasi.
What a book. And, I've seen that, the story about Narottam Das was also written by another author way back, but it doesn't read quite this way. The work that Sitala Das did, she made it very palatable for the Western audience, so that you can read it with ease, and it's almost reads like a novel.
It does. It is. It reads like that.
So, you don't feel, oh, wait a minute, I got to go back and reread this. You really get into the story. And anyway, I just fell in love with that story with Narottam Das Thakur. And so I am with some of the others too. He was just so loving and felt that he was nothing. And,
Pure.
Once again, he was just so exalted. Yeah. So anyway, I understand what you're saying. And thank you. Well, Mataji, it's 6:15. I think, don't you think we must end for today? Yes?
Sure, Mataji, yes.
We've gone
Thank
over.
you so much for the beautiful narration from the life of Narottam Das Thakur. I felt it was so cute that they spoke loudly.
and it said that when Narottam Das and his friend, when they stopped, these boys were like following behind, and they had to stop too. And they were pretending like they were stopping for some other reason. It was just so. She is such a storyteller. And then the Narottam Das Thakur and his friend move on, and they continue following behind. The story is just so sweet, very sweet.
And he's constantly crying in ecstasy. Narottam Das Thakur all the time. It was like he was shedding buckets of tears all the time in ecstasy of love of Krishna, of Lord Chaitanya, all of the associates, his spiritual master. It didn't matter, they didn't have to be the Lord. He just was in ecstasy of separation, just like Srimati Radharani.
Yeah, separation most of the time.
Love in separation. Oh, I'm so unfortunate. I was born in the wrong time. Look, I get halfway there and so passes away, and this other, associate passed away. How could I have missed them? So he considers himself the most unfortunate in the world, and yet he's just so pure and advanced. Anyway,
blessed, though, yeah.
Oh, and blessed, of course, yes.
Okay, so Hare Krishna. Thank you for a nice class.
Thank you all for all your contributions.
Jai.
Jai.
Thank you.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai.